is just unheard of, and it really sounds the alarm for someone like me who studied journalism in college. Right? It really it scares me.
Can I just
look at the same time?
Can I just finish what I was saying
Yeah.
so that I
About
don't
6,000 Canadians.
so that I don't lose my thought. The point is,
It all kicked off on live television. Folks, picture this. Stephen A. Smith, the outspoken sports commentator known for his fiery takes and unfiltered opinions, stepped onto the set of The View and immediately turned up the heat to a level rarely seen on daytime TV. What started as a discussion about political strategy and the Democratic Party's recent missteps quickly spiraled into an intense and emotional showdown. At the center of it all was Sunny Hostin, one of the show's most vocal co-hosts, who found herself in the crosshairs of Smith's sharp critique.
So Trump's only been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to...
The fireworks began innocently enough. Stephen A. Smith, invited to discuss the state of American politics and the upcoming election, wasted no time in calling out what he saw as glaring failures in the Democratic Party's messaging. With his signature blend of passion and precision, he argued that the Democrats had lost touch with their core base, the very people who once propelled them to victory. The Democrats didn't lose because of Donald Trump, Smith declared, his voice booming across the room. They lost because they forgot who brought them to the dance. This bold statement immediately ruffled feathers, particularly Sunny Hostin, known for her staunch defense of progressive policies. Hostin wasn't about to let Smith's critique go unchallenged. She countered with a passionate defense, citing the Democratic Party's long-standing efforts to support working families, expand social safety nets, and champion equality. Let's not forget what the Democratic Party has always stood for.
So 20 years after they last won a popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the Electoral College vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it all, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate.
But Smith wasn't backing down. In fact, he doubled down, pointing to what he described as a glaring disconnect between the party's rhetoric and its actions. He brought up the migrant crisis, highlighting that under Joe Biden's administration, over 12 million people had crossed the border, creating chaos in cities and straining local resources. Smith questioned what had happened to the Democrats who once championed the working class. They talk about helping families.
There's a mandate.
What's a different definition of a mandate, I guess?
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad.
Some people didn't
we should
show up.
continue to do that.
Do you think
No,
that those-
don't continue to do
do
that.
you
Find a
think
new
that-
strategy.
But do you think those groups, the black voters, the Latino voters, and the others that you mentioned, are they going to regret it soon?
Hostin's response was swift and impassioned. She pushed back against Smith's criticisms, asserting that the Democratic Party's values have always been rooted in helping those most in need. She highlighted the challenges faced by the Biden administration, from inheriting a divided nation to navigating unprecedented global crises. Hostin argued that it's easy to criticize from the sidelines, emphasizing
He's coming and he wins. You got to find a way to beat him. This way is not the way that the Democrats have been doing it.
Let's talk about how
the tension was palpable as the debate escalated. Other co-hosts tried to interject, but it was clear. This was a battle between two heavyweights. With his commanding presence, Smith continued to press his point. He brought up Barack Obama's record on deportations, noting that Obama had deported more migrants than Trump. Leaning forward for emphasis, Smith posed a pointed question. What didn't Obama do? He answered it himself. He didn't bloviate about it. He got the
people are feeling about his performance, because a CNN poll this week found that 52% of people disapprove of Trump's performance in office so far. So even though he may have won the general election by less than 50%, 52% disapprove of what he's doing. We're also seeing Republican voters at town halls opposing his executive overreach, giving Elon Musk the shadow presidency.
Hostin, visibly emotional, defended Biden's approach, arguing that the current challenges required compassion and a focus on humanity. These are not just statistics, she asserted. These are families, children, human beings.
Yet you said, quote, Trump is closer to normal than what we're seeing on the left.
Yeah, I was talking about why he won the election.
So?
When I made that statement, I was talking about, that was before the election.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
So when during the election, I said, in the immediate aftermath of the election, I pointed out he was voted for because they considered him closer to normal than what the Democrats were spewing. That was what I said at that particular moment in time. Now, obviously, Elon Musk is an entirely different matter altogether.
Right.
This man is not an elected official. He hasn't been confirmed by the Senate or anything.
But Smith wasn't letting up. He shifted the focus to the broader implications of the Democrat struggles, pointing to Trump's significant gains among minority voters in the last election. The Democrats are losing ground: Black voters, Latino voters, young voters. Trump is making inroads with all of them, Smith stated. He warned that if Democrats don't
Get scared the living daylights out of folks and the approval ratings, obviously we pay attention to that. But here's the bigger question. Who on the Democratic side are the American people pointing to and saying that's the person?
We'll see.
Well,
They don't have anybody yet.
Well, we're
plenty.
6 weeks in with you-know-who.
National Voice.
Right.
We're 6 weeks in with
Leader
you-know-who.
Jeffries.
Everybody said let him do what he's doing so we can see what's going on.
Hostin's frustration reached a boiling point as she attempted to counter Smith's argument. She cited systemic issues, voter suppression, and the role of misinformation in shaping public opinion. The barriers people face when trying to make their voices heard can't be ignored, she insisted. It's not just about strategy, it's about justice. The back and forth continued, with neither side willing to yield. Smith, ever the provocateur, challenged Hostin and the Democratic Party to take a hard look in the mirror. You can't win by doing the same thing over and over again, he said firmly. You need a new strategy, a new message, and a leader who can inspire people to believe in you again. Right now, I don't see that happening. What made this exchange so riveting was the raw emotion on display. Hostin, deeply invested in her beliefs, struggled to hold back tears as she defended the Democratic Party's principles. Smith, on the other hand,
I thought what she also said, in disagreeing with Stephen A. Smith, thankfully, is that the current president, does not have a mandate. He does not. And I'm glad that she made that clear to our viewers. I've said it. Joy has said it.
The audience, both in the studio and online, was divided. Some applauded Smith for speaking truth to power, while others rallied behind Hostin, praising her for standing her ground and advocating for compassion. Social media lit up with reactions, memes, and hot takes, with viewers dissecting every word and gesture from the explosive segment. Even as the debate wound down, the energy in the room remained charged. Smith delivered a parting shot, urging the Democratic Party to wake up and take action. You've got to stop making excuses and start delivering results, he warned. Because if you don't, the guy in the Oval Office right now is going to steamroll you, and you won't even see it coming. Hostin, still visibly emotional, responded with a call for unity and hope. We can't give up on the fight, she said, her voice steadying. Because this isn't just about politics, it's about people. And we owe it to them to keep pushing for a better future. It was a moment that perfectly encapsulated the intensity of...
Not only has Trump emboldened people to run for the highest office of the land, he's actually surrounded himself with incompetency. So that is scary to me. And people that are loyal, that will just do whatever he says and go along with the program, not only in his cabinet, but in Congress. So I'm sort of,
As the show cut to commercial, the air was thick with unresolved tension. For viewers, the conversation was far from over. The showdown had ignited a firestorm of opinions, ensuring that the debate would continue long after the cameras stopped rolling. What would come next for The View and its co-hosts? One thing was certain. This was only the beginning of a much larger conversation. Now, let's dive deeper. Because this clash between Stephen A. Smith and Sunny Hostin wasn't just an isolated event. Far from it. Moments like this have become a recurring theme on The View, a show notorious for its explosive debates, polarizing hosts, and, let's be honest, never-ending controversies. The truth is, Sunny Hostin's emotional reaction to Stephen A. Smith's...
And I think it's time for Democrats to meet that moment, meet that energy. What does that look like? What does an opposition look like? Not a resistance, because a resistance is passive. An opposition is active. I want to see that. And I don't think anyone in Congress, because this is not a State of the Union, this is a joint session of Congress.
First off, let's talk about The View itself. For over 2 decades, it has been the ultimate stage for fiery debates and personality clashes. What began as a platform for women to come together and discuss hot topics has transformed into a battleground where worldviews collide, live on television. But here's the thing, the show thrives on this chaos. The more heated the debates, the higher the ratings. And the producers? Oh, they know exactly what they're doing. They've curated a panel of personalities so vastly different that conflict isn't just possible, it's inevitable. It's like throwing fire and gasoline into a room and waiting to see what happens. Sunny Hostin, of course, has been one of the show's most outspoken and polarizing figures. Known for her sharp legal mind and unwavering progressive stance, she never shies away from controversy.
This is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York. You guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia.
One of the most infamous moments in Sunny Hostin's time on The View came when she made comments that many viewers found, to put it mildly, controversial. Remember when she referred to certain voters as uneducated? Oh, social media had a field day with that one. It happened during a discussion about Donald Trump's election success. Hostin argued that his victory could largely be attributed to a specific demographic, non-college educated white women. Whether you agreed with her or not, the backlash was swift and unforgiving. Social media exploded with reactions, some accusing her of being elitist, while others defended her for speaking what they called an uncomfortable truth. But that wasn't the only time Hostin stirred the pot. Oh no, there's more. Let's not forget her comments about Hispanic voters after Kamala Harris's struggles in the polls. Hostin suggested that sexism and misogyny played a significant role in why many Latino voters didn't support Harris. There's still a lot of patriarchy in our culture, she said, sparking yet another round of heated debate. Even her co-host, Alyssa Farah Griffin, who usually tries to play the role of the diplomatic conservative, couldn't hide her frustration. And you know it's serious when people on The View start throwing their hands in the air mid-argument. But here's where things get even juicier. While Hostin has been criticized for her comments on race and gender, her critics have also accused her of hypocrisy. You see, Hostin has built her brand on advocating for equality and justice. But some viewers feel that her remarks about...
So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange.
But wait, it doesn't end there. Sunny Hostin's personal life has also come under scrutiny, adding yet another layer of intrigue to her time on The Viewpoint. One of the most talked about scandals involved her husband, Emmanuel Hostin. Rumors swirled about his alleged involvement in legal issues, and while Sunny mostly kept quiet about it on air, the tabloids were relentless. For a show that prides itself on transparency and tackling tough issues, the lack of discussion about this particular topic didn't go unnoticed.
Now, he's just accused, and this accused in a lawsuit after some time of investigation could ultimately become a federal indictment. That's the...
Hostin's public image has at times seemed at odds with her on-screen persona. Reports have surfaced about alleged tensions between Sunny and some of The View's production staff. While these claims remain unconfirmed, whispers of diva-like behavior have occasionally circulated in entertainment circles. This has led some to question whether Hostin's passion on air is always...
Look, well, when your name ends up with 200 people in a RICO investigation, this is the biggest investigation since Giuliani shook the tree and a bunch of mobsters fell out, right? This is big stuff. And so, and thank you for bringing that video. It sure is ironic that she's up there. So, but...
At the same time, Sunny's defenders argue that she's simply a strong woman navigating an industry that often criticizes outspoken women. They point to her impressive resume, lawyer, journalist, and vocal advocate for social justice, as proof that she's more than capable of holding her ground, even when the heat is turned up. For many of her fans, Sunny represents a voice often missing from mainstream media. Unapologetic, passionate, and unafraid to call it like she sees it. And it's this very duality, her ability to both polarize and inspire, that keeps her at the forefront of the view. But even with a loyal base of supporters rallying behind her, Sunny's place on the show isn't without its challenges. As tensions rise between co-hosts, particularly with Alyssa Farah Griffin stepping into the conservative seat, some wonder if The View is reaching a tipping point.
Yeah. I have a totally different perspective on this. I don't really know what happened with this. The facts will come out. What I have a problem with is the core of who this woman is. Unlike you, I don't watch The View, bro. All I do is see clips.
I know you just like twice a day.
Here's all I hear from her. America's violent, America's racist, America's bad. Okay.
And Sunny isn't the only co-host to find herself in hot water. The View as a whole has built a reputation for courting controversy, whether intentional or not. Take Joy Behar, another longtime panelist, who has had her fair share of eyebrow-raising moments. Remember when she made that comment about Caroline Leavitt, the youngest ever White House press secretary? Joy suggested that Leavitt only got the job because of her appearance, saying, "She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. Yikes, that remark didn't just spark outrage. It set off a social media firestorm, with critics accusing Joy of sexism. And the irony wasn't lost on anyone. After all, isn't The View supposed to champion women in leadership positions? It was one of those moments that left fans divided, with some defending Joy's comment as a joke and others calling it a step too far. Then there's Whoopi Goldberg, the show's moderator and a Hollywood legend in her own right. While Whoopi often tries to keep the peace, she's no stranger to controversy either. In fact, she's had her fair share of on-air blunders and heated exchanges. One particularly memorable moment came when she clashed with Alyssa Farah Griffin over immigration policies. Clearly frustrated, Whoopi snapped, "Let me finish," after being interrupted multiple times. It was a rare moment of visible tension between the usually composed Whoopi and her younger, more conservative co-host. And let's not forget the time Whoopi made headlines for her controversial remarks about historical events, remarks that ultimately led to a temporary suspension from the show. The truth is, no one on The View is immune from the spotlight or the backlash. But here's the thing. As messy as these controversies are, they're also what keep The View relevant. The show thrives on its ability to spark debate and get people talking, even if it means stepping into uncomfortable territory. And
I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right.
This latest clash between Stephen A. Smith and Sunny Hostin is just another reminder of the tightrope The View walks every day. On one hand, it's a platform for meaningful conversations. On the other, it's a lightning rod for controversy. Whether you love it or hate it, one thing's for sure. The View knows how to keep people talking. And as long as that's the case, the show and its hosts aren't going anywhere. As the dust settles on this explosive debate, the question remains, do Stephen A. Smith's critiques hold merit, or is Sunny Hostin's defense of the Democratic Party's values more compelling? How do you think this heated exchange will impact the upcoming election and the broader political landscape? Share your thoughts in the comments.